Hello friends of 3D scanning, we're back on the channel with another scanner, this time from 3DMakerPro, the Moose 3D scanner. We're testing it out today with all of these different test objects, from a very small Ducky to the globe object. All of these objects have been used in previous scanner reviews already, so you can compare the results. I will also put the download link to all of the object files that we are creating throughout this process, so you can download them and see yourself the results. If you were wondering what makes this scanner special, this is the thing. These are blue LED lights putting light on the object that you are scanning, versus using infrared technology that all of the previous scanners that we had tested already on the channel so far used. That makes it less sensitive to infrared light sources, for example if you're outside scanning in the sunlight. However, my recommendation with any 3D scanner, regardless whether it's using infrared technology or this blue light technology, direct sunlight is never your friend, because it will always kind of interfere with anything that you're 3D scanning. So anything that I am scanning here is using artificial light, which is the recommended way how to do it. But of course, if you're outside and you have no control over the lights, this might be an option. But in this test, we are going to focus on scanning indoors, which makes it much easier to compare with other results. Let's take a quick look at the technical specifications of the Moose scanner family. There is two different versions available. The Moose that we have here for testing today, and the Moose Lite, which is a little bit lighter, of course, but its resolution is also less accurate, and the Moose Lite is also a little bit inferior in terms of the light technology. So only the Moose has the blue LED technology. The Moose Lite only uses infrared. Also, you don't get color scanning on the Moose Lite, so you're getting some significant feature drop. It is also much cheaper, however. It very much will depend on a 3D scanning object, what you're doing in the post-processing, what are you using it for. If you're just trying to 3D print the thing that you're scanning, then the Moose Lite might be good enough. But if you want to import a fully textured object into, for example, Unreal Engine to use it as a game asset, or if you want to present it on a website like a product presentation in full color, then you will definitely need color scanning, and then it's the Moose and not the Moose Lite that you need. The Moose 3D scanner has been sent to us by 3DMakerPro for the purpose of this video. And as usual on this channel, I'm going to tell you what is good about it, what is bad, really shed some light on the features and on the usability of this device. So you'll get the full picture. And again, you will be able to download all of the files that we are producing in this video from the links in the description of this video. So I'd say without further ado, let's get started with the first 3D scanning object with the little Ducky. First of all, you will need the scanner on a little tripod, put on your table. The little tripod is coming in this package, and it's all nicely packaged up in this transport box, so you get all of the accessories that I'm showing you in this little box here. But you will need a computer to run this. Any laptop, Mac or PC or a desktop computer will do, but it's only running on Windows or Mac OS so far. Then you get a connection cable to the scanner, which is about, I'd say, 1.5 meters maximum, and it has also a power supply coming with it. That means you will need to connect one cable end to a computer and the other to the power supply. Surprisingly, the scanner is not able to power itself up just from the PC cable. It will always require this additional power supply. Once we have set it up on the tripod, we want to point it down to the object that we are scanning, and how we are going to ensure that we can get the object scanned from all sides is by using a turntable or a lazy Sue. Now this is fully motorized. It's a small turntable coming with the scanner here in this little box. And they also give you an extender, makes the turntable a bigger surface. You can just put on the top. And then we'll just put the Ducky in the middle so it can rotate. What doesn't come in the package is a power supply for the turntable. It requires a simple USB power supply. You can use any phone charger that you might have left over. So let's plug it in. And it's just going to rotate on and on and on, so there's no switch to turn it off. Next step that we need to do is we need to head over to the PC and find the correct scanning position, camera to object. We need to find the right distance so we get as much detail as we can. On the PC we have a software that's called JM Studio, and here we are going into the table scan mode. First of all, we're going to take a look at the left hand side here. It's telling us whether we have a good or bad distance. I think now it's pretty much perfect. For the first table scan, what we want to do, we want to remove the object first and just run the initial scanning. That means it will find out what is the actual table, what's the surface, and which we can eradicate later from the scanning result. And then we can finish this and put our object back onto the turntable and start scanning. The scanner is now collecting all of the data points that it needs for a full revolution of this object. And in the beginning of the scanning process, we have set around about 400 frames that we want to scan. This is a number that you can figure out usually by running your turntable one full rotation and then figuring out how many frames you need to take to get a full rotation. I think for me it was around about 400, and I'm always doing a little bit more so we have a little bit of an overlap there. And after this set number of frames, it is going to stop scanning and automatically go to the next step. The computer is now rebuilding the 3D object so far, only the point cloud, of course. We're not getting a mesh object yet. And we can see from the initial table scan what the software considers to be table and what it doesn't consider to be the table anymore. This looks a little bit too much cut off. Basically, it's cutting too high. So to avoid that, what we can do is we can try to orient this in a way that we have it horizontal. Click Alt, mark everything that's part of the object, drag down, holding the Alt button, and that's it. So we can go to the next step, which is the processing. Call it Ducky 1. We need to save the project now. Let's do high refinement. It's trying to remove all of the noise and pixels that are kind of outside of the shell to make it more clean. So if we take a look at this first result, we see the pecker is probably not the best resolution. The rest of the ducky looks, however, quite fine. Not super happy with the result, to be honest. So scanning this little ducky here was already challenging in terms of getting the right precision for the little pecker here in the front. However, what we also want to test is the colorized scan, so a text mapped result would be great. The process looks very similar. It takes a bit longer. Let me show you. So we're starting off in the same way by initializing the table surface. Now we are checking this little checkbox to use external texture mapping via the integrated camera, and we're gonna start scanning. And after rebuilding, we're doing the texture mapping. Now the program is going to shoot images for a while to figure out what is the texture of this object. That's going to take a minute or so. And the final step is to process the texture mapping. This step is going to take another minute or so to finish. And then hopefully we get a fully textured ducky. And here we go. This is a textured ducky made from a simple 3D scan. Now we could reuse this as an asset in Unity or Unreal or just put it on a website. And of course, you can also disable the texture mapping and just look at the 3D body, and we can also 3D print that. And you probably realize an object with texture mapping always looks better than just the 3D model, because the texture sometimes is just masking a lower quality of a 3D scan. Our next scanning candidate is this ice cream girl from Playmobil. Let's get started. So we want to put it in the middle again. Make sure that it doesn't topple over. Also want to find a good scanning position, especially this one is tricky because it has this little hat on, so we don't get to see the face unless we go very low with the scanner. In this program, we can also verify what we are seeing. I want to get it fully scanned in one go, don't want to do multiple scans. Okay, let's get started with the scanning. This looks good. Getting the first frames. Again, we will mark what's part of the object as in the previous ones. And finally, we want to shoot the pictures for the texturing. Okay, let's finally process this. Great, but not so great. Probably have an issue here with the texture mapping. That went not too well. Object has also some issues here, probably because of the angle that we've been using for scanning. This little head here is completely gone, right? We usually should have our little head here visible in the 3D scan. This is completely gone, probably because of the angle that we're scanning from. They're pretty much horizontal scanning against the object. Picking a different angle will probably help us to resolve this. So I'm doing another scan of this from a slightly higher angle so we can get the head scanned correctly. And maybe we have to do a second scan from a different angle and merge both parts together. Before we do any extensive and time-consuming texture mapping, we want to look at the object first, and we realize there is a few issues. So one issue is underside of the cap is basically not captured. That's why the program repaired it. It's much thicker than the real thing. This is, I would say, an okay-ish result. However, we still have these artifacts. The head isn't perfect, and we definitely lack detail from this perspective. Also, the ice cream isn't perfectly round. There is some detail missing on this side. However, interesting enough, the texture works. So what I would suggest to do is we go back one step and we take another perspective like this. After that, we merge both scans together, hopefully for a better result. But we're going to put the girl in a different position. If I change the posture unintentionally, we'll probably have to restart the whole thing. So I double checked, I accidentally changed the posture of this minifigure slightly. So the first scan doesn't match scan number 2. So I created a third scan just from the initial position. So we have now 2 different scans. One where this is flat on the scanning table and one where it's standing. Now we are selecting and highlighting both scans and clicking the Align button. Now we have both scans aligned, so they are perfectly overlapping, and it looks much better in terms of the geometries, for example, of the ice cone here, and also the head seems to be much better. My friends, this looks already so much better that I really want to see the textured version. So we're gonna do texture mapping now and processing that. And with the magic of editing, we are done with this beautiful scan of the Playmobil figure. I'm really happy with the result. This is absolutely printable, I would say. We have so much more detail now under the head, and the ice cone is much better. So you see, for getting better details with these kind of objects where you have overhangs and where you have like cavities, more perspectives make more sense. The auto alignments seem to work. So let's get to the next object, which is our Roman head. So let's place this in the middle. This time we probably need to modify the distance of the scanner. It's currently a bit too close. Going back slightly until we see the details. Now this makes more sense. We might have to do a second scan from a little more underneath the object. For this scan, we want to disable texture mapping. I'm not interested in the color information. This will make the process also faster. Yeah, and the detail already looks very good. This statue is coming with every RevoPoint scanner, so it's a really nice reference object. And we're moving the scanner down. Get it from a lower angle. Usually I think that with one scan you can get away with some objects. 2 scans are usually very good to capture the remaining parts, and maybe in some special cases you need 3 scans and then put them all together, but I think more than that is usually not required. Good, now we have 2 scans. I think we don't need to cut off anything, to be honest. We can just select everything and then we should be good to align both parts together. Once we do the alignment, I'm hoping that we have enough information that this works without manual process. And it worked really nice. So I guess this is good for processing further. I really like it. Quality wise, it's really good. A lot of detail has been captured here with the face and also the hair section. It's time now to move on to the next object, which is our VW camper van. Maybe you cannot imagine, but it is really challenging because it has all of these little details and it's colorful. We want to do a textured version of this, and previous scanners were kind of failing with this object, so I'm really curious to see how this is coming out. Let's go. Placement and distance of the scanner is more challenging with this object because it is longer. That means some parts of this will be closer to the scanner, and the middle part, when this is facing towards the scanner, it is further away. The scanner has kind of a range of 10 centimeters where it's very tolerant with the distances, at least what's in the documentation. The scanner software shows me we are actually in a pretty good position to do this. We're not too far away and also not too close. Of course, I'm missing a lot of the parts from underneath and also from the top. There is almost no detail there for all of the surfboards and stuff. So first up, we're gonna put the scanner in a higher position. Still a pretty good distance, I guess. Yeah, this looks much better. We get a lot more detail from the top. Hope this is also reflecting in the final geometries. And last but not least, we want to capture the underside. I'm really curious to see these 3 scans come together. This is the first time I'm using 3 scans with this software and this scanners. If you've seen my previous scanner tests on the channel, black objects with infrared scanners are always a huge issue. Most of the time you don't even get any detail. With this kind of different scanning technique and the blue light, you will definitely get also much more detail with the black objects and things that are generally darker. So as a last step, we want to align all the 3 scans. So we need to mark all of them and then say align. And we have a final result. I'm super curious to see the mesh object. Nice one. This looks so much better than the results from other scanners, especially because of the black tires, which got captured successfully this time. And also the surface detail is great. The only thing that I should have disabled is repairing gaps, because this bus definitely has no windows, so it's all open here. Kind of replace the windows with this weird texture from inside, which doesn't make too much sense. If we just look at the object without the texture, of course it makes sense to close every gap, because then it absolutely is 3D printable. And with that, it's definitely time to do the last 2 objects. First one being this deer, and second one, our little globe here. I kept the scanning dots on it because it makes scanning easier for some scanners. I'm curious if this makes any difference for this scanner. Now, some things will work quite well on the turntable. For example, these smaller objects, we probably need 2 or 3 scans to get them captured perfectly. What we should try is not using the turntable, because that would require us to do multiple scans with different positions. We probably would have to align like 3, 4, 5, 6 scans. Instead, what we want to do is we want to place this on a table, and then we want to use the scanner manually and move it around the object, capturing as much detail as we can, hopefully getting a better result in one scan versus having to do multiple scans. Let's try this out. Now in the software, this is done by using the easy scan function. We just have to find a starting position that works, and then we can start scanning, and the rest is basically just moving the scanner around. Don't want to shake this thing too much. Going a bit further back, and then we can start moving the scanner around. Not the easiest thing, to be honest. Challenging also for the cable. It's not too long. Let's try to capture the legs. Then I have to do this side. Yeah, so far I guess we get all of the detail that we need. With the scanner handheld, it's definitely not the easiest thing to do, because you always have to look on the screen, not to like get too far out, not to get too close. So you always need to keep the thing centered. So I think the turntable solution is actually the safer way to go. So this looks pretty good. I mean, we're missing a little bit of detail here on the inside, like here in the upper section. Probably should have done more. Also missing a little bit detail here with the legs. That's why probably turntable is the safer way to do this kind of thing, because you can just repeat it. If it doesn't work that well, just change the position and just have the camera in a fixed position. It's much less hassle, I would say. Still a usable result. So it's time for the final object, the globe scan with the scanning dots. Let's see if the scanner gets any confusion from that, but I want to see the final texturing, of course, and also the resolution. So we'll go for easy scan, and we're trying to get around the object manually as best as we can. Probably doable. We might get some texture information. I'm not sure what comes out of it. Let's see. Yeah, so the globe looks still quite like a disaster. We can try to process it now and see what comes out, if it can still clean up the object. We also missed part of the bottom, which is unfortunate, but maybe we can still get something. Yeah, maybe repairing the gaps wasn't the best choice. This isn't a great result. I don't think that it makes any sense to process this further for texture mapping, even though it could work. We probably would have to do this a couple more times to figure out how to do it best way. It is definitely not easy with this kind of object. Such a, like say, a round thing, that it is challenging for the scanner. If it doesn't really recognize the scanning dots for orientation, makes it super, super hard to do this. It's time now to give you my final verdict on the Moose scanner from 3DMakerPro. My overall thoughts on this device is it's really high quality, so you can get high detail, really high resolution scans, especially from smaller things. This scanner seems to be perfect for objects around about 10 centimeters of size in each direction. Anything that's significantly larger will be more challenging, as you've seen, so it is still possible. However, if something is bigger than 10 centimeters and you want to put it on a turntable, it's also not easy to get everything in focus while the object is rotating. Keep that in mind. What I also appreciate is that it illuminates the object itself, so it's not using infrared light, so it will be capable of capturing more detail with objects that are colorful and also that contain black areas, as you've seen with the little VW camper van, which has black wheels, and it was still able to capture them. Versus my previous attempts with the Revo Point scanners, it wasn't really possible without scanning spray that makes everything grayish, so it can be captured with an infrared scanner. This is not a problem with the Moose scanner. However, if you go for the Moose Light, that might become an issue again, because that one is using infrared again. About the texturing results, I'm pretty happy with how the overall objects look like. Mind you, I have put all the download links in the video description, so you can download those objects yourself to see the results. To be honest, the biggest drawback with any of the scanners that I've tested so far, including this one, is not the hardware. They are all struggling with the software. The good thing is you can always improve software, make it better. For example, recognize the orientation of multiple scans better. This can be improved with this scanner. For now, this is really good enough for any beginner 3D scanning. Be mindful about the very narrow field of view. That means capturing anything that's bigger can be very challenging if you are moving the scanner handheld, and you might be able to scan something that's bigger, but it is definitely more challenging and require a little bit more patience. How about the price? Currently it's Black Friday. This is 30% off. It's cost 458 euros. I'm putting multiple links where you can purchase this device in the video description, and those are affiliate links. So if you are purchasing anything through those links, you're helping me to support the channel. Thank you for using those links, just for all transparency. So if you got value out of this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you have any questions regarding this device or anything that I should test that I may be missing out, please leave a comment under the video. That gives me indication where I should look next and what kind of questions I need to answer in future videos. And I'm happy to see you back again on the channel very soon for yet another video. Have a good time. Bye bye.